So what's up, everyone? Another Freak Chef Classic on Pink Freak, and here the fuck we go. Fuck yeah. So, um, tonight I have a gig, party of 6, and I have some extra time before I have to load everything. Well, everything's pretty much already loaded up. But anyway, um, it's a Friendsgiving, and everybody is sick of fucking turkey. Fuck the bird. Here's the bird. Bird, bird, bird. Fuck the bird. Okay, Thanksgiving gets old. Friendsgivings are so fucking awesome, especially when it comes to like something kinky as fuck. And I guess that's why they called me Fuck My Shit. So, um, the request is for this meal beef stroganoff with a twist. So they want it very flavorful beyond the normal beef creamy with egg noodles stroganoff thing. So I figured I'm in the middle of getting ready. I have like literally about an hour before I even have to do anything else, which pretty much just means that I'm going to put like this pair of jeans on that I got to wear for tonight. Um, that's about it. Pretty much ready to go. Fuck my shit. Got my mohawk. But I figured I'm going to do a quick little breakdown of sirloin steaks that saves me some time when I get there. And I made a little vacuum bag and everything. Of course, anytime we vacuum bag anything, make sure we fold it down so that we can seal it. And by the time I start cooking, I have from now until the time I actually start making the meal, because of pre-dinner entertainment and stuff like that, we're going to add some marinade to the actual meat. Now, we have 2 beautiful sirloin steaks, but the purpose of this video is not about the event that's actually happening tonight. I put this in the freezer for about 2 hours while I was getting ready, loading up everything else, so it's nice and firm when I go to cut it. But it's sirloin steak. I'm going to show you 2 of the most beautiful sirloin steaks from my favorite butcher in the entire fucking world. And the purpose of this video is to show you how to break down a sirloin steak to make stroganoff. Even you can use this for fajitas. You can use this for a number of different recipes. And the trick is breaking down a sirloin, so that's the purpose of this video. Welcome to Freak Chef Sunday Supper. Fuck my shit. And make sure you buy my cookbook when it comes out. I'm so fucking excited about. And there's all kinds of tips, tricks, and awesome fucking recipes. But let's get into this. So let's get into this. Here we go. First things first. Fucking close as fuck. And obviously it must be autumn because the butcher starts wrapping everything up in leafy autumn paper. So we got our cutting board ready, and look at these 2 beautiful sirloins. These things are about the size of freaking London broils. But let me take these out real quick, and I want to show you guys something real quick. I'm going to lay it out on the board because this shit's legit as fuck. And these are beautiful fucking steaks. But one wrong move, you can fuck the whole thing up. So, let's just take one of these. Look at these beauties. Oh my God, that's a sexy fucking steak. Fuck my shit. Okay, so let's start with a couple different parts of the sirloin. Get it laid out on the board. And here's one part, obviously. And we're just going to chop it out that way. Peel that part off to the side there. The thing is with sirloin steak, there's many different groove patterns. If you look at how the grain goes this way on this part of the meat, it kind of cross grains that way. So this is going to be a totally different beast to deal with. And if you notice, this is a little different because that runs that way, almost on a diagonal where that meets. So we're going to take that where that meets and meets that, meets and meets that way. If you notice the grain that runs this way, kind of does a little something different that way. This is going to be a totally other section right here. And we're going to trim along that fat line because we're going to also get rid of some of the fat as we go along. We're going to get back to this part here because I want to start addressing some of the more difficult parts of a sirloin when it comes to breaking it down to make a beautiful beef stroganoff, fajitas, or anything like that. So you have that part that we cut out, and you have a lot of fat in there. And we don't want to discard the fat. We're going to use that for something else. But we're just going to take that, and right there's a pretty decent cut of meat. Whether it's for a stroganoff or whether it's for part of a taco. So we're going to put that in our save pile. We're also going to trim some of the fat down from here. When it comes to beef stroganoff, or even fajitas, when you get that fat, I like to save that fat for other things. If you're making it as a whole steak, you're good. When you're using it for other things, it's different. So see how the grain runs this way? We're just going to take this, trim along that fatty part, and we're going to trim what's called on the bias, where the grain is kind of going that way. And we're just going to make small little chunks, just like that. And that's good. Now, let's get to this big thing right here. Obviously, when you make a whole steak, this is something that contributes a lot to flavor. You have a lot of this fat. It's going to render down in a pan when you make the steak and all that. When it comes to fajitas, tacos, anything like that, it's not going to contribute a lot at all. So we're just going to run our knife right down where that fat attaches. We're going to separate that, especially if we're doing a beef stroganoff. We don't need all that fat. However, this could be very valuable somewhere else. So I'm going to put that in this pile here. Now, if you notice, the grain runs mostly this way. So what we want to do is when you slice it, you want to eat it. When you eat it, if you slice it this way, it's going to be very tough and chewy. These are going to be smaller, shorter cuts. Again, like we did the last one, we're going to kind of go perpendicular on that and see how now it exposes that tissue where you can see it run this way more. So we're going to use that to make some really thinner, tender cuts because we're doing a beef stroganoff. Now, if you're doing other dishes, this could be very handy too, because the longer you go into that, when people start eating those longer strips, see how that grain is going that way? When you bite into it, it's going to be very tender and start breaking apart very easily, and it's going to be absolutely delicious. Now, the next part of this is the main cut. Like I said, we're going to go for some of the more challenging cuts first. Look at this piece right here. We have some of our fat here, which is not going to contribute much. We're doing beef stroganoff, remember. So we're going to get rid of that fat because we're going to use this fat for a lot of other things, such as making other dishes and all that. It's okay to have a little bit of fat in there, but we don't want too much. We want a very nice tender thing. Now, once you take that fat cap off, see how the grain runs this way in the meat? We want to cut across that grain. So if you want it really lean, you get rid of that little bit of fat that's there. You even trim this back a little bit. And then see how the grain is running this way in this cut of this part of the sirloin? That's where we just take it, and there we go. These strips are going to be so tender because see how that grain is crossing that way? If you cut it this way, you're constantly eating into what could be very tough because trust me. So, take it on our board, slice it down. We're going to have some nice, beautiful cuts. Very tender. And the whole thing is, we want to slice everything very evenly. The same thickness. And if it gets a little too small like this, that's okay. See that really tough piece of fat right there? We're going to move that to our discard pile. We can just actually keep this here. We'll give it a little score. It'll open up when we're cooking it, and it'll cook just as evenly as the longer pieces. Now, as far as the main cut of the sirloin, see how this has a lot of the grain running this way. Okay, let's go ahead and get rid of this fat cap right here. And that'll expose a little more from this angle. We'll just put that in that pile. We'll go ahead and chop some of this off. Now again, if we were grilling this or whatever, that fat is going to contribute so much flavor to it. And it's just part of the flavor. It's awesome. But right now, you have where you don't really see a lot of cross grain. But over here on this side, if you look, you'll see where a lot of the grain is coming this way. Okay? So you want to eat into this part of it. And whereas your grain is going this way on the steak, you want to cut perpendicular to that. This way, every piece is very tender, very consistent. You just come through just like that. So every time you take a bite of this piece of meat, in the long strips that it is, when you bite into it, it will just break apart in your mouth, and it's going to be amazing. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick cut this way on it. I know this could kind of ruin this, but if you go to bite into it this way, your grains are working the wrong way on you, and you're pulling long, chewy pieces of tissue. Whereas doing it this way, you're actually getting small little bits each bite you get versus the other way. So that's how I break down my sirloins, and I hope that helps. And when you get down to those little ends, whatever. I got one more steak to break down. It's going in this bag. So, and make sure you like, subscribe, follow. If you want your personal private culinary paint toy, paint freak, fuck shit himself, to come cook for you, make an amazing dinner, your crazy erotic fetish dinner, whatever it is, hit me up on my website, paintfreakofficial.com. Follow my social media, paintfreak, freak chef. Oh no, freak chef, paintfreak freak chef. That's the new one, or freak chef on Facebook. But of course, you can always find me on paintfreakofficial.com, and all my links are there. Hope you guys like my content. Please like, subscribe, and make sure you check out my Patreon and all the other platforms, and enjoy. So I hope that all the shit that I give to you is bet legit as fuck, and you guys like it. Fuck my shit. Anyway, love you guys. Thank you so much for your support.